Welcome to Street Talk, the program that brings public meetings to your doorstep. I'm Dave Edwards, and I'll be your moderator for this meeting, which concerns Interstate 25 and University Avenue. Today is September 28th, 2017. If you're watching tonight, we are able to take your questions live. Feel free to visit us at i25-University.com to give your suggestions on tonight's subject matter, a proposed improvement project for the ramps and streets at Interstate 25 and University Avenue. This is the first of several meetings we'll be having on the topic, and its purpose is to acquaint you with the scope of the planned upgrades. We also aim to give you the information you need to make recommendations and comments about how the project can be improved upon. To review each of the ways to participate in tonight's meeting, visit i25-University.com. The New Mexico Department of Transportation and their selected consulting firms of Bohannon Houston and Molson Corbin are committed to reaching out to the public, and we hope you find this format helpful and engaging. Let's begin with a pre-recorded presentation. I'd like to introduce our panel of transportation professionals who have joined us, both here and remotely, to help summarize this project. With us we have Wyatt Karchner, Vice President at Molson Corbin and the I-25 University Avenue Project Manager. Trent Doolittle, District 1 Engineer at New Mexico Department of Transportation. Albert Thomas, Senior Vice President at Bohannon Houston. John Tasick, Senior Project Manager from Ecosphere Environmental Services. Roy Gibson, Senior Project Manager at Bohannon Houston. Joining us remotely are Loretta Reyes, Public Works Director for the City of Las Cruces. Amanda White, Project Manager at Bohannon Houston. Jerry Paz, Executive Vice President of Molson Corbin. Dale Harrell, University Engineer at New Mexico State University. My first question is for Wyatt. Where is this project taking place?
This project is taking place here in Las Cruces at the I-25-University interchange. This interchange was originally constructed in 1966, and it was reconstructed again in 1988, and then rehabbed in 2012. Our study limits for this project extend a little bit beyond the interchange itself. We're looking from Loman Avenue to the north, all the way to I-10, I-25 interchange to the south, and then along University Avenue from Tell Shore to Locust. But the construction itself will be focused at the I-25 University interchange.
Trent, can you tell us the issues that need to be dealt with at this location?
The biggest issue we'll be addressing is the safety concerns. We have access issues with I-25 southbound, specifically at Travis intersection and the Pan Am parking lot to the university. This project will address those safety issues through incorporation of on and off ramps directly into the Pan Am parking lot. We'll be extending Travis under University, connecting the north and south side, and we'll be addressing safety issues with the Travis intersection. We will also be replacing the bridges on University over I-25 to allow pedestrian and multimodal access on University.
Now, wasn't this area just worked on recently?
Yes, it was recently worked on. In 2010, another consulting firm, Gannett Fleming West, did a corridor study for this interchange. And part of that corridor study had a phased approach to the construction of this project. As you may recall, there was the loop ramp that was reinstalled in about 2012. The acceleration and deceleration lanes were extended on southbound I-25. And then just recently, the I-25 Missouri Bridge project was completed, where we added a third lane on I-25 between University Avenue and Lohman. The Gannett-Fleming West proposal, which was done in 2012, was a phased approach, and their recommended alternative in 2012 has had some changes that need to be looked at because of changes that NMSU has incorporated since then. Their original proposal did not allow for access along Travis Avenue into the parking lots for Pan American Center during special events, and so that was problematic. And so with this project, we're looking at new alternatives for that interchange.
So in simple terms, what exactly are you planning to do?
As Wyatt indicated earlier, the DOT had completed a study and environmental document, and we have been asked to update that study for the current conditions. We're going to be preparing an interstate access change request, which in transportation engineering terms is called an IACR. The IACR is going to document operational characteristics of the existing conditions, the new conditions as Wyatt discussed. It's going to identify alternatives that were considered for improving this interchange. It's going to summarize the alternatives analysis that's been conducted to select a preferred alternative for this location. And really, it's going to provide the justification for improvements being proposed at this interchange location. This document will be submitted by the New Mexico Department of Transportation to Federal Highway Administration for their review and approval. The reason the document is needed is because we're changing configuration of this interchange, which modifies the current access to Interstate 25. And anytime there's a proposed change to interstate access, we need Federal Highway Administration's approval. The other component is public involvement. Anytime there's a public works project, it's important to reach out to the public and engage a community in the decisions associated with that project. The previous project held several public meetings. Now that we're updating the study, we want to inform the public about the progress of the study and to get their input. That's the primary purpose of this public meeting. In addition to public meetings, as you mentioned earlier, we'll have a project website, and that will have project information that's up to date. And the project website will also be used to gather additional public input. Our contact information will be available on that website, so you're welcome to contact any of the design team members if you have any questions or comments. This project includes an environmental process. The project includes the update of the previous environmental document that was completed in 2011. The environmental document for this project is a categorical exclusion that follows the state's location study procedures and complies with the National Environmental Policy Act. And then the last will be the design. When the study is complete, we'll be completing a preliminary and final design for the interchange so that the DOT can take this to construction.
So what alternatives did you look at?
Well, when we started this project, we looked at probably 20, maybe 25 alternatives. Basically, any idea that we could come up with, we kind of sketched it out. And then we met with the NMDOT, our other stakeholders, which include the City of Las Cruces and NMSU, and we began to screen those alternatives down. Some of the goals that we had with this project was a direct connection of I-25 southbound into NMSU, Travis underpass under University Avenue, and then access to I-25 southbound from Travis. And so once we had that criteria, we eliminated a lot of the alternatives and we narrowed it down to basically the top three. Those top three alternatives were studied in more detail. The first alternative that we looked at, we called University A, Travis A. This alternative includes an offset alignment of University Avenue, which allows for the construction of the new bridge of University over I-25. And then, as you can see on the figure here, we are taking I-25 southbound, and you are able to make two movements. You can either go up to University Avenue and turn left to go to the Farm and Ranch Museum, or go right and down University Avenue. You can also take a movement that takes you under University Avenue to the NMSU campus, where there is a T intersection which is signalized. We also have Travis Avenue going underneath University Avenue with another T intersection here. This alternative we had some concerns with of wrong way drivers going onto I-25 southbound ramp, and it also limited the number of people that could get back onto Interstate 25 southbound. The second alternative that we looked at in detail was University A, Traverse D. This alternative, we also offset University Avenue to the south to allow for the construction of the new bridges over I-25 for University. And in Las Cruces, in this portion of the interstate, the frontage roads, like Traverse, is a two-way frontage road. And so, unlike El Paso, where we have one-way frontage roads, or US 70, where there are one-way frontage roads, we have two-way traffic. So we can't take an interstate ramp directly into the frontage road, as they'll be in the wrong direction. So we used a concept known as a diverging diamond. And so you go through an intersection, Traverse would, where you would actually cross over and be driving on the left-hand side of the road, if you will. And that allows for the I-25 southbound traffic to merge into the Traverse traffic freely, and then we combined everything and put them back in their right side of the road with the roundabout. And then the final alternative that we studied in great detail was University A, Traverse E. This alternative, we shifted University Avenue to the south to allow for the construction of the new bridges. And like all the other alternatives, I-25 southbound could go up to University Avenue, turn left or right, or go under University Avenue to a large roundabout, where Traverse also comes under University Avenue into that roundabout, and then you have access directly to I-25 southbound.
So how did you determine which option was the best way to go?
Well, it starts first with the traffic analysis. We did existing traffic counts to understand what the flows were during the peak hour movements. Today, there's about 1,500 to 2,000 vehicles that use University in this location. The interstate carries about 4,000 vehicles per hour. We also counted pedestrians and bicycles, which in this case, there's not facilities at the interchange for those, so it was very minimal in terms of the number of pedestrian and bicycles that were using this interchange at this time. From there, we developed a traffic model. This was to help us understand how traffic patterns are going to change over the next 20 years. We calibrated that model using information from the Mesilla Valley MPO model. They have a 2040 transportation model that takes a look at growth, land use projections, different configurations that are going to happen over the next 20 years with the transportation system regionally. And so we calibrated our model with that, and we determined what the 20-year traffic volumes are going to be. How much traffic is going to be using this interchange in 20 years? So we analyzed each of the alternatives to understand how the traffic was going to operate for each of them. And we used this factor to determine which one would have the best operational analysis at this location.
We also didn't just look at the traffic and how that intersection would work operationally. We wanted to make sure that it met other criteria. And so we came up with an evaluation matrix, which is basically just a list of criteria that we graded each of the alternatives on. So we looked at planning considerations, which was the conformance with state, local, and stakeholder input. We looked at the societal impacts, which are the environmental impacts, both cultural and economic. We looked at design considerations, so the ability for the project to meet the design objectives and the geometry, is it something that's common or not. Safety is always a big concern, and so we wanted to make sure that the alternatives that we selected was safe. And then, as Bert mentioned, we looked at the operational considerations, and then finally cost. We don't have an unlimited budget, and so cost does come into a consideration. And then all of those alternatives are then given a score, and then the one with the highest score is the recommended alternative.
So what can you tell us about this recommended alternative?
Well, once we did our complete analysis, the alternative that we recommended was University A, Traverse E. This alternative, as I mentioned before, we use an offset alignment for University Avenue. This allows us to construct the bridge over I-25 without disturbing the existing university traffic. It also allows us to build the new bridge, which the I-25 southbound ramp will go underneath and Traverse will go underneath without disturbing the existing traffic. As we walk through this, I'm going to start as if you were driving on I-25 South. So if you're on I-25 South and you want to go to University Avenue, you're going to take one exit, And at that point, you're going to be able to make a decision. Do I want to go up to University Avenue, or do I want to go underneath into Travis? If you want to go up to University Avenue, you can stay in the left lane, go up to University Avenue to a signalized intersection where you can turn left to go to Farm and Ranch Museum, for example, or turn right to go down to University Avenue. If you want to go into the Pan American Center or to Travis, you can get in the right lane in that southbound off-ramp and go underneath University Avenue into this large roundabout. In this roundabout, there's multiple legs, so you can have multiple decisions as to where you would like to go. If you want to go back to the north along Travis, you can simply take that first exit on the roundabout and go to the north. You can also go back to University Avenue or to Arrowhead Drive by taking the next exit of the roundabout. And then finally, if you want to go to, say, the new BCom Center or to Arrowhead Park, you can continue around the roundabout and out there. It also provides direct access back onto I-25 southbound. With Travis going underneath University Avenue, we added another leg to Travis, and so we used a roundabout there as well to tie all of those things together. Some other improvements that I want to point out is the multi-use trail. So the multi-use trail, the Travis Trail, goes underneath University Avenue at this point as well. And then it also continues along Travis to the new NMSU trail system that they have installed. We've also incorporated sidewalks onto Travis which aren't currently there.
Amanda, I'd like to hear more about the bridges and the retaining walls.
This project involves the construction of 2 new bridges on University. The first bridge will span over the new portion of Travis that was discussed earlier. The second bridge will replace the existing University Bridge over I-25. Both bridges will be designed and constructed to minimize impacts to the public. The current University alignment will be shifted north so that a portion of the bridges can be built while allowing traffic to continue flowing on University Avenue. Also, the new University Bridge will provide span links that will allow for future widening of I-25. Numerous retaining walls will be required for the completion of this project. Many of these will be mechanically stabilized earth walls, or MSE walls. These are cost-effective walls that do not require a significant amount of excavation and that can be built without significantly affecting the traveling public.
As we have seen in recent weeks, it's important to handle the issue of drainage. What's your plan on this project?
For this project, the NMDOT has a drainage criteria which they use for the entire state. They have a drainage design manual and drainage criteria. And for an interstate system such as this, we use what we consider in engineering as the 100-year and the 50-year storm events for our design. So with this project, we are going to generate a little bit of excess water from what's there today. And so we've identified some ponding locations within the interchange configuration to store that water. We're also going to extend the large concrete box culverts, which are near Wells Street, as part of this project, to allow for that lane to get in there.
Are better traffic signals a part of the plan?
Yes, we're going to be reconstructing all of the intersections on University Avenue in this area. So Travis, the southbound and northbound off-ramp intersections, and the Las Alturas Don Roser intersections will all be reconstructed. With that, we're also going to be installing new signal equipment at those intersections. So we'll be upgrading the existing signal equipment to newer equipment, but we will also be adding lanes for capacity at some of those intersections, turn lanes to make it easier for traffic to operate through there. The new signal equipment will have vehicle detection, so it'll be allowed to detect vehicles that are waiting at a stoplight and be able to then queue up the controller to change it to green at the right times. The other thing that we're going to make sure and do is signal interconnect, so we'll be tying all of these signals together so that as traffic progresses through this corridor, they should be able to start at a green light and continue the green light all the way through in the primary movements.
This is a very busy area, so what is your plan for preventing traffic snarls?
So construction phasing is one of the very important parts of this project and one of the aspects that we've taken into consideration even in the planning stages. One of our objectives on this project is to keep 2 lanes of I-25 open in each direction throughout construction and also keep 2 lanes in each direction of University Avenue open. This will require at times some night closures to reconstruct the bridges or demolition of the existing bridge. Those will all be done at night and scheduled, and there will be detours for the I-25 traffic to do that. We'll also have some detours on the local streets on Travis, but access will be maintained throughout construction. And as this project progresses into construction, one of the things that the NMDOT has done a great job of doing is having monthly public meetings where the contractor, who's actually out there building the project on the ground, presents their schedule to the public and tells them exactly what's going to go on throughout the project. And we're also having a project website where you can go to and see what's actually going to go on in construction. And then there'll also be updates on the radio and the newspaper as well.
Trent, how's this project financed?
Currently, a majority of it is through federal funding, but as with most federal funding, there is a state match, which the department is paying for, but at this point, it is federal and state.
And then how long is this project going to last?
Right now, we're in the preliminary stages of design, but it's expected that this project will last about 18 months.
This project will affect New Mexico State University. What's their involvement?
Thank you for the question. And the university's involvement in this project is probably our main involvement is to have easy access to campus for both students, faculty, and staff, and the public. We do a lot of venues from Pan Am Center, football games, hosting the bands at our athletic complex, things like that. And we just need to make sure that the students, the faculty, the staff, the public have an easy way to get on campus. And this design with the two roundabouts, one on the north and one on the south, allows that easy access for everyone. It also allows for easy access getting off of campus once you're on to campus, actually. It's easy to get on I-25 South from the South Roundabout. You can get back onto University Avenue and get onto I-25 North. So that's probably our main reason for doing the double roundabout design. We're also looking for branding opportunities for the university. This will be the main gateway to the university, and so the university is looking at branding this gateway onto the university. For main reason is looking at art and history of the campus. On the west side of campus, on the south side of the Horseshoe, back in 1910, a set of gates were built for the main entrance to campus that were made of stucco and concrete and wrought iron. Those were replaced in 1924 with the Miller gates, which are still standing today. They were made the same way. And NMSU is looking to put some type of symbolic historical gate structure on this west end, on the east end of campus to brand the campus and match east and west. We would also like to do some type of branding in the roundabouts, in the median parts of it. NMSU logos, Pistol Pete, maybe a bronze of Pistol Pete, or Pistol Pete riding a horse with NMSU flag, or something like that, along with the gates. Probably the biggest reason for our involvement in this project is we are going to be taking care of a lot of these areas. We take care of them now, the area south of University Avenue. We do all the landscaping. NMSU picks up all the trash along the fence line of I-25. We maintain all the street lighting that's on Travis on the south side of University Avenue. So that NMSU is willing to take that on again. With the new construction, whatever it might be. So we want to be a partner with the City of Las Cruces, NMDOT, and promote the university.
Loretta, can you tell us about the involvement by the City of Las Cruces?
Thank you, Dave. The City of Las Cruces and the NMDOT have had a long history of working together in this community. The I-25-University Avenue interchange project is just one of the many, many projects that we have collaborated on over the last several years. The City of Las Cruces is a stakeholder in this project. We have a team of individuals at the city that are participating in project meetings, they're reviewing information, and they're also providing project input. Additionally, we are discussing with the NMDOT proposed agreements for the city to maintain landscaping, traffic signals, and streetlights associated with this interchange project. The idea for this project has been around for some time, and the city is very happy that this project is becoming a reality. And we are excited that we are participating as a stakeholder in this project process.
Albert, I see a couple of roundabouts are part of the design. Can we get more information on them?
Sure. Roundabouts are at-grade free-flow intersections. Cars are required to yield as they enter into a roundabout, but they're not required to stop. In many cases, roundabouts move traffic better than other intersections. They're not recommended for all locations, but in the areas where we do recommend them, a lot of times they'll work better than a stop-controlled intersection, and even sometimes better than a signalized intersection. Our design recommended alternative has two roundabouts on the local surface streets. One on the south side of University Avenue in front of NMSU's parking lots, and the second one is on Travis on the frontage road just north of University Avenue. Roy, why don't you talk about the design characteristics of each of those roundabouts?
Both roundabouts were designed using the Federal Administration Roundabout Guidelines in conjunction with the City of Las Cruces Roundabout Design Guide. The south roundabout has a 175-foot inscribed diameter. The 175-foot dimension is measured from the center of the roundabout to the outside of the furthest lane and all the way across. The roundabout is sized large enough to accommodate semi-trucks that will be using the southbound exit ramp to access Travis or the southbound on-ramp on the I-25. The north roundabout has a 135 inscribed diameter. This is very similar to the size of the Las Cruces downtown area roundabout and is sized to accommodate buses, delivery trucks, emergency vehicles such as fire trucks. The roundabout will have splitter islands at the entry points to help divide and channelize and provide refuge for pedestrian crossings. The roundabout will also have dedicated pedestrian crossings on the west side of each roundabout. These crossings are typically safer at a roundabout because pedestrians will are only required to cross one line of traffic at a time, as opposed to a traditional signalized intersection, which would require a pedestrian to cross multiple lanes.
Every project has environmental and legal requirements. John, can you fill us in on the ones related to this project?
Yes, Dave. I think Albert mentioned that because the project has federal money, we're required to comply with the National Environmental Policy Act and all the related environmental laws. And what NEPA process requires is that the design team conduct studies and consider the potential impacts of a project. The NEPA process usually focuses on topics that are most relevant to the specific project, and then considers the results of those studies in the decision-making processes that go into the design. For this project, we are going to prepare categorical exclusion, and we're going to focus on those topics that are most relevant. The natural environment is highly disturbed in the project area. Therefore, things like wildlife, wetlands, endangered species really aren't relevant to this project. There are no cultural resource impacts related to the project. There have been previous surveys and studies done in the area, and there are no impacts anticipated. The things that are important are community-related issues. Others have mentioned traffic during construction. That's an important consideration for the university, for the businesses in the area, for emergency services, and for the community as a whole that goes through and uses the interchange. Roy described the plans for pedestrian and bicycle and transit facilities. Part of our process is to comply with local plans for transportation and ensure that all modes of transportation are addressed. So we will be enhancing the pedestrian system, providing for bicycles, and providing for the 3 providers of transit in the area. Visual impacts are another area. As we have discussed, the Federal Highways Arts and Aesthetics funding program is available to mitigate visual impacts from a project, and we anticipate using those funds to enhance the new bridge structure with art and aesthetic features. Hazardous materials, air quality are not issues in this corridor. One of the topics that has been discussed is noise. As part of the Missouri interchange, a noise study was done, and the findings of that study showed that most noise comes off of the parallel frontage roads to the interstate, and that it is not possible to construct noise barriers and maintain access to the residential areas that are on either side of the interstate. For this project, most of the immediate area is occupied with commercial and institutional uses, so we do not anticipate noise mitigation for those land uses. However, we may do an additional study for the golf course area, which is currently being replanned and by the university at this point. So that may be something that we delve into in more detail as the study proceeds. And that's pretty much it for the environmental effects of the project as we know them now. Part of the NEPA process is public involvement and identifying concerns that people in the community have, and that's one of the things that we're doing here tonight. We're starting this public involvement process.
Jerry, do you have anything to add to this?
Yes, thanks, Dave. I would like to add a little bit about the sustainability efforts on this project. The New Mexico Department of Transportation's 2040 Long-Range Multimodal Transportation Plan outlines sustainability efforts that they hope to achieve in the coming years. The NMDOT has elected to incorporate the Envision rating system on this project to document the level of achievement in meeting those goals on the I-25-University Avenue project. The Envision rating system is managed by the Institute for Sustainable Infrastructure, ISI for short, which is an independent organization that will provide verification of our team's sustainable achievements. Envision was specifically selected by the NMDOT because their rating categories align very well with the NMDOT's 2040 plan objectives. Some examples of sustainable actions that we will have on this project include, number 1, public awareness and transparency. This very meeting is an example of how our project team is reaching out further to the community and stakeholders to get a broader audience and more input onto the development of this project. These and other public information activities that we will carry out through the duration of the project will bring together the community in a way that is unprecedented. Number 2, material, resource, and allocation. The existing bridge over I-25 on University Avenue will be demolished so that a new structure can be constructed. Our goal is to recycle the material left over from this bridge demolition and other materials from demolition that can be used as a resource for the new project. Concrete from the old bridge can be crushed up and repurposed for high-quality backfill needed for new mechanically stabilized earth retaining walls. Similarly, materials from old roads that are obliterated can be used for recycled asphalt paving or other project backfill. Efforts to recycle materials will minimize the use of rock quarries and new material sources, as well as saving project dollars by not having to purchase and haul those materials. Number 3, energy efficiency. This project is committed to using renewable solar energy for project street lights. The lights will be specified to be high-efficient LED lighting, saving power consumption over the life of the roadway lights. Our project also hopes to reduce light scatter by removing some of the high-mast lights that are there now and replacing them with overhead poles that are closer to the surface. Number 4, multimodal enhancement. This project has a real opportunity to interconnect multiple levels of multimodal uses in the area by collaboration with stakeholder entities. The City of Las Cruces currently has an award-winning Travis walking, running, bicycle trail that essentially dead ends into University Avenue. This project will carry those facilities under University Avenue and connect to the NMSU Cesparro Trail north of the football stadium. By interconnecting these facilities, it significantly opens up the opportunity for an improved regional trail system. In addition, Roadrunner Transit has a stop on University Avenue across from the Pan American Center. Aggie Transit has a stop on the Pan American Center parking lot, and commuter service to El Paso could all be enhanced with a more central hub that this project could facilitate. This interconnected transit, combined with walking, running, and bicycle facilities that are all connected, will be a real boost to multimodal travel in the region. Once again, the New Mexico Department of Transportation's commitment to project sustainability in the years to come will be demonstrated on this project and evaluated by ISI using the Envision rating system. And all project sustainability components will be independently checked by ISI national verifiers. At this time, this project is anticipated to receive the Envision Gold rating, which is one of their highest awards. Thank you, Dave.
You mentioned the visual impact. So a lot of projects recently have incorporated this terrific artwork into the construction. So any plans to do that here?
Yes, we anticipate that there will be aesthetic treatments for this project. The department incorporates bridge art treatments into projects where possible because they express local and community values, they provide a sense of place, and they have other community benefits. Federal money is, as I think I mentioned, federal money is available for art and aesthetic treatments if it provides mitigation for aesthetic or visual impacts from a project. We anticipate that it will be available for this project. The process for selecting an artist and developing the art is one used by the New Mexico Cultural Fair's Public Arts program. The theme is derived from the local community. A prospectus is posted on the Call for Entries website, which has over 100,000 artist members who have an opportunity to bid on art projects. Interested artists submit a portfolio. A local selection committee is established to review the art submittals. The committee for this project will be made up of department personnel, local artists, representatives of NMSU, and representatives of the City of Las Cruces. The panel will choose 5 finalists. The 5 will present concepts and will be paid an honorarium. A final selection is awarded, and then there is public input. There's additional public input on the art concepts, and the final concepts incorporated into the design. So tonight is an opportunity for initial input on the art and aesthetics treatments. There will be other opportunities, and there will also likely be landscaping incorporated into the project that complements the art features.
Great. Okay. Roy, I think we talked just briefly about pedestrians and bicyclists. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes. Currently, University Avenue has one sidewalk on the south side with no dedicated bike lanes. With the improvements, University will have a 6-foot sidewalk on both the north and south sides and dedicated bike lanes in the westbound and eastbound directions. The bike lanes will have buffers to provide a greater separation between bicycles and vehicular traffic over the bridge. The current multi-use path on Travis will be extended under the Travis Bridge to the Cesparro Trail system.
We'd like to thank you and the rest of our panelists for this presentation. The first part of this program has been about hearing from the experts, but now we need to hear from you. The live Q&A is about to begin, so those of you not with us, please call in your questions or contact us by email, Twitter, or Facebook. Thank you for your attention so far, and please stick with us as this meeting continues right after this break. I'm Dave Edwards, your moderator for the question and answer part of this meeting. We'll now open it up for your questions. For those watching us on TV or via the internet, please provide your comments in one of several ways. Using our phone number, 575-522-0049, via email using contact@i25-University.com, Facebook at facebook.com/i25-University, or via Twitter at twitter.com/i25-University. Or if you're here in person, please feel free to fill out a question and comment card. We'll be gathering those up as well. Now, our first question of the evening. We have multiple questions from Jeff via email. There's a general resistance to traffic circles in this country, and in Las Cruces in particular, because of their, quote, complexity. How does one get beyond that? Or perhaps the learning curve is being overcome locally because of the traffic circle in downtown Las Cruces and the one in Chaparral. Wyatt, can you give us an answer to that?
Traffic circles, they've been around for a long time, especially in European countries and in Mexico. And so they're not a new concept. It's a rather new concept in southwestern New Mexico. There are lots of places within southern New Mexico where we are implementing roundabouts. We have the one in downtown Las Cruces, the one in Chaparral, and then also at the I-10 Vado interchange at exit 155. And then through this project, one of the things that we're going to emphasize is educating drivers on a roundabout. We've put a few links on our website to some videos that other DOTs have done so that you can go and see what they have produced for roundabouts. And then as we continue forward, we're going to continue to educate people. We're talking about doing some videos ourselves for part of this project and then continuing that outreach throughout to help educate people on how to use those roundabouts.
Okay, I think this next part of the question is also for you, Wyatt. With this plan, how does it prevent someone from entering the southbound I-25 lanes the wrong way from the southern traffic circle?
So one of the important aspects of the geometry of the roundabout is that it forces traffic into a one-way situation. So you can see here this leg that goes under University Avenue, and this radius here forces traffic to go around the roundabout. If you were traveling around the roundabout, it would be very difficult to make this movement here, as this radius on this curve is like 3 feet, so we're talking a pretty good point there, that it would be very difficult to actually make that movement. So that's one of the big benefits of roundabouts compared to other intersections that we analyzed, is that the wrong way movements are minimized.
These are both parts of this question. The remaining are still in your ballpark, Wyatt. We'd also like to request a bike path that would connect Travis on the south side to the existing bike path on the north side of the bridge. This path could be totally separate from the roundabout.
So that is something that we have incorporated with this project as well. We are connecting the Travis Trail, which is on the north side of University Avenue, to the Sesparo Trail system, which is shown here in blue. And so you can see this green line on this figure here. Those are the new proposed connections of that multimodal connection for this project.
And we can get back to the first part that we lost there for a second. Excuse me. I can't tell what your plans are for connecting the Travis pedestrian bike path on the north side of University to some new path on the south side. Currently, there's no good place for bikes to connect from the south side of campus, say Sam, Steele, and Trevice, to the current bike path.
Similar, we are connecting it to the NMSU trail system. There is a few options to getting from through campus on the trail system. Arrowhead Drive has a trail system, and then also you could take Wells possibly or Stewart and go through campus, but that's kind of outside of the scope of our project. We want to connect what we can here, but we wouldn't be able to carry it all the way to Sam Steele.
Thanks, Wyatt. Do we have any in-person questions at this time? Yes, sir.
One of the goals was to connect Trevice to southbound, entering the southbound I-25. If you took away that north roundabout, wouldn't you still have access to entering I-25, just coming down Trevice, coming through the intersection, and then going in the southbound roundabout? In other words, why is there a reason to have a roundabout in the north and connect Trevice underneath when it's already connected with the intersection? Does that make sense?
So the leg that you're talking about is basically why are we putting Trevice underneath University Avenue?
Right, it's connected.
Because it's connected down here. When we talked to our stakeholders, which were the City of Las Cruces and NMSU, along with the NMDOT, this was one of the priorities. If you look at the City of Las Cruces' long-term plan, they actually have Trevice passing underneath University as one of their plans. In the study that was done in 2010, that also was a characteristic that was important to that as well. I do realize that you can make this movement this way. One of the things that our traffic model showed was that in the PM, there's a large volume of traffic that goes through this roundabout, and it avoids this signal here and just goes north on Trevice. And so with all of these improvements, we found that this operated very well throughout the entire corridor, whereas if we push all of the traffic to this intersection at Trevice, that signal timing is slowed down rather than having this free flow movement through here.
Thank you. And thank you for your question, sir. Do we have any other in-person questions at this time? Let's go on to an email question. I think that, Roy, this is for you. This is from Izzy. I-25 runs through the heart of this city of over 100,000 and is a virtual wall, splitting the town in half by preventing access from one side to the other, except by car. Although the Trevice bike path has helped north-south access, other than Missouri Boulevard, there is nothing for pedestrians. Why is that? We have over 300 days a year of sunshine. People are walking and biking more and more, and we should be encouraging it. What does this project do to address that issue?
Well, Izzy, thanks for the question. Under today's conditions, one of the limiting factors is the existing bridge on University over I-25. That existing bridge is limited by the size of the bridge to one sidewalk, and that sidewalk is approximately 5 feet. The proposed condition on both the Trevice Bridge and the University over I-25 bridge, we will be installing new bike lanes in the east direction and the west direction, and we will be replacing the bridge, and there will be a new sidewalk on the north side of the bridge and on the south side of the bridge. So you'll have a sidewalk on the north side that's 6 feet in width and on the south side, and this should increase the connectivity for pedestrian and bicycles from the Telshore side all the way down to past Locust.
And I think Jerry has something to add to that as well.
Izzy, that is a good question, and that's something that the city of Las Cruces has had to grapple with over the number of years. It's hard to remember, those of us who've lived here for generations, before the interstate was ever built. It was built in the boonies. The edge of Las Cruces was Solano, and then the edge of Las Cruces became, Telshore, and Telshore then is what split the city at that time into two. So the interstate was built. It was built very rural location in the city of Las Cruces, and then we grew around it. So now we are, this does enhance the connectivity from east side to west side, but that's something that is part of the city's long-range plan to deal with the east-west issue around I-25.
This question is from Jeremy on Facebook, and it's also for Wyatt. Question, does the traffic model cover special events, and how are special events expected to be handled? Also, does the traffic demand warrant the northern roundabout, which I think we just talked about?
So our traffic model, and then in engineering, what we always model is the AM and the PM peak. We don't model for special events in the design of infrastructure, because you would be way over designing infrastructure if you were to do that. What we are doing with this project, because we know this is a big place where there are lots of special events, is we have our guy that did our traffic model actually modeling a special event, and we're going to help the MSU police and the city police and state police come up with a plan to best manage that traffic in a special event, and that may be closing some specific movements at times like they do now to get that traffic through there.
How does the traffic demand warrant the northern roundabout, which we talked about briefly?
Right, yeah, and then because of the this third lane here, we needed a intersection here to allow for this Travis to go underneath University Avenue. And we looked at different alternatives for this intersection. We did a level of service analysis, which is the analysis that we do in transportation engineering to determine which one functioned the best. And because of the free-flowing movements of the roundabout, we found that that one functioned better than, say, a T intersection. And it also improves the safety over other designs, because pedestrian crossings are only over one direction of traffic, and then they have a refuge in the splitter island and then can cross the other traffic, and then speeds are slowed down as well. So that was why that was selected.
This one and the next one may also be to you, Wyatt. There's some concern about the hospital and how access to the hospital will be maintained during construction. And there's also another question from Dale that says, do you anticipate any days or times when ambulance traffic inbound from the South County area will need to bypass Memorial Medical Center and be diverted to Mountain View Hospital?
So we don't anticipate that any traffic coming from the south would be impacted at all with this project. We're not really doing a whole lot to this southbound off-ramp, or northbound off-ramp, excuse me. And so any traffic going to the hospital would not be impacted. There are going to be times where we may need to close bits and pieces of University Avenue, and those would all be scheduled with emergency services. There would be lots of notices out to the public to make people aware of that. We know that this hospital being right here is a very critical movement through here, and so that's something that we've considered, and we'll do everything we can to keep access open and then provide lots of advance notice if we ever do need to do something different.
Okay, thanks, Wyatt. Let's see, this one I think we also covered in the overview, but Trent, you said you were asked how long will the construction last? You want to remind folks about that?
Certainly. So this project is right now scheduled for a planned submittal of August of 2018. So ultimately we'll be opening bids around October of that same year. After we award contract, the contractor is typically allowed an opportunity to purchase materials, have them delivered to the job site before we actually begin construction to minimize impacts to the public. We can expect construction to begin sometime in early 2019.
Yes, sir. You have a question?
George Pearson. It looks like the project limits on the west side start at the Don Roser Las Alturas intersection. You talked about redoing some signal lights. Is that signal intersection going to have any reconfiguration of the signal lights? And also the bike lane configurations there could probably be improved. And looks like that's outside the scope of this project. I did. George Pearson.
Yes, we will be reconstructing that intersection and putting a new signal at that location. We'll be tying to the east side of that intersection. So from the east side going back towards Telshore, we are not going to be making any changes along University. However, throughout the project limits from the west side, which is the Trevice intersection, all the way through to the Don Roser Las Alturas intersection, we'll have bike lanes on both sides. So we'll have a bike lane eastbound and a bike lane westbound on University itself.
So is there opportunity to address any issues along Las Alturas and Don Roser at that intersection for bicycles and lane configuration?
In looking at the crossroad, we're not extending our project limits very far north and south of University. We can make sure that the intersection can accommodate bicycle traffic if there's any lanes put there in the future. But right now, we're not extending our project limits further than those returns.
Yeah, because it might just be a matter of lane lines and not actually making a physical configuration. The other question I have with the multi-use trail and the crossings at the roundabouts, could you expand a little bit on, are those at-grade crossings, and how would bicyclists behave at the crossings?
Sure, I'll expand on that. The multi-use trail that we're talking about is the trail that comes along and is in between Trevice and the interstate right now. And we intend to continue to use that trail, so it'll be a multi-use trail that stays between those two facilities and will be adjacent to the roundabout. So at this roundabout here, that trail we're continuing down towards the south and we'll go underneath the bridge. So, but there will be pedestrians allowed to cross at crosswalks at all three of those legs. And so if you're on a bike and you decide you want to go cross at this roundabout, you'll have the opportunity to cross at this. It would be across the crosswalk, so it would be a protected crossing. Once you get to the other roundabout, the intent is that trail is to continue south down into the University area. And so what we'll be doing there is actually trying to get the bicycle and the pedestrians to cross so that they'll get on the south side of Trevice as quickly as possible. We're actually going to take them across a crosswalk at this location and this location instead of crossing them at the ramps, because the ramps are probably going to be people trying to get on and off the interstate, and we don't want to intermix them with those interstate traffic vehicles. So we'll be crossing them at a pedestrian crosswalk here and a crosswalk at this location. Again, one lane at a time as they come across, and then they'll get onto the trail system and be able to continue adjacent to the Trevice.
Jerry, you have something to add?
One thing I'd like to also mention, George, is, as you are very well aware, there are multiple levels of bicycle users. And some of the more serious bicycle users enjoy being inside the travel lanes, the driving travel lanes. And so we, as part of our public outreach, we will also be incorporating methods of bicyclists you probably already know in navigating through roundabouts, but those are something that we hope to also educate the public on how to drive your bicycle through the roundabout if you are not inclined to use the trail as some of the more serious bicyclists are tending to be.
And actually, Jerry, there's another question here for you. There's some concern about business access being provided during construction.
So we are committed, and it is our objective, to maintain 2 lanes of traffic at all times during the construction of the university and I-25 beneath. So that's a commitment we're working with in our construction sequencing, construction phasing, and our temporary traffic control plan. So those are going to be some significant benefits to the businesses along those as the vehicles will be able to travel through. The contractor will make access available at all times during the construction of the project. It may be that they would have to go a little out of their way normally, or they would make a passageway through the construction activities to provide that access, but it will be maintained at all times during construction.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. This one looks like another one for Wyatt. How will the Traverse Trail be used during construction?
So the Traverse Trail currently goes along Traverse all the way to University Avenue here where it dead ends. And so during construction, there'll be some times where we're reconstructing this trail. And so we will provide a detour route for pedestrians to cross over onto the west side of the road or west side of Traverse and use that side of Traverse before crossing them back over. And so that's how we'll handle that piece.
This one doesn't have a person that it's directed to, but I think we did address the cost of the project. Was that Trent that talked about that? This project looks expensive. Could it be phased?
We are in the preliminary stages of this project, and so we're not 100% sure what the costs are going to be, and then with the bidding environment, you don't ever really know what the cost of the project is going to be. I think currently we have about $25 million programmed for this project, and one of the things that we've discussed is possibly doing a phased approach if we need to. This is kind of a last-ditch effort if we have to, and this could be a potential phased piece of this where we build the critical movement for this project, which is the I-25 southbound underneath University Avenue and the southbound access back to I-25. And then at a future date, the piece of Traverse could be put underneath. We would build the bridge span wide enough or long enough so that that could be built in the future if we do run into budgetary concerns.
Yeah, go ahead, Trent.
And Wyatt, if I may, the other thing, understanding the size of this project and the financial impact that it would have to the district and to the department, we're actually going to be funding it out of 2 fiscal years. So it is a $25 million project, but by doing that, it allows us to build other priority projects during those same 2 fiscal years, basically without spending all of our money at once.
Okay, thank you. This one doesn't have a person it's directed to, but we did talk about drainage during the general overview, and this person's screen froze during that part of the presentation. So the concern is, what sort of erosion control and landscaping do you anticipate for the spaces of the project?
So what we're looking at is in these unused areas of the project, we are looking at trying to install drainage ponds that would capture the additional stormwater runoff that is occurring at this interchange in these empty spaces that are on the project. And some of those ponding areas would help mitigate the stormwater impacts right there at the interchange. There at Wells Avenue and other culverts that cross I-25, there are significant storm drainage box culverts already existing that cross, and we would install wire-tied riprap and other erosion control measures to minimize the impact of that stormwater crossing Traverse.
Okay, thank you. This question is from Kate, a phone call, and we talked a little bit about this, I think, during the overview, but she's concerned about what environmental impacts can be expected from this project.
Most of the environmental impacts that we've identified concern community impacts, considerations of access during construction and the economic impacts, the aesthetic impacts of replacing the bridge. And I think we talked a little bit about the Arts and Aesthetics program to mitigate those impacts. Because the area is already disturbed, we don't expect impacts on the natural resources like endangered species or wildlife or wetlands or that sort of thing. There are no cultural impacts, cultural resource impacts in the area. We looked at noise in the interstate because most of the area is already developed for commercial and institutional uses, and the golf course, we don't anticipate the need for noise mitigation measures. The Missouri project looked at noise to the north, and because of the access off of the frontage road and the traffic on the frontage road, it didn't appear that it would be possible to build noise walls as part of that project. Other than that, we don't anticipate other environmental impacts that have been identified to date. Yeah, Jerry just pointed out that there are also other issues connected with the natural environment, like migratory birds and nesting birds and noxious weeds and that sort of thing. And we don't see impacts in those areas at this time.
Thank you, John. This question is for Albert. This is from Chelsea on Facebook. And how will this affect the businesses on Travis, particularly the ones close to the new roundabout?
All right, thanks, Chelsea. Yeah, the businesses on Travis, there's existing hotels in this area, and there's some other properties that also access from Travis on the north side. During the construction itself, there will be times that we will have lanes dropped or lanes moved over in a detour configuration. But as Jerry mentioned, at all times, the businesses and access to the businesses will be provided. If we have to take vehicles out of route to get into their driveways, we'll make sure that there is signing that identifies the direction that the vehicles need to travel to get into those businesses. The actual construction itself, when it's complete, will maintain the same driveways that they have there today. So the existing driveways that tie into these businesses and to these adjacent properties will be maintained. Some of them may be shifted a little bit based on the geometry of the roundabout and the roadway, but the driveways will be maintained in approximately their same locations. As we get into the design, the preliminary design of this project, we will be contacting the adjacent property owners with the designs of those driveways and those access points to make sure that they comply with the parking facilities and the accesses that they have today.
Do we have any other in-person questions at this time? Yes, sir.
The design doesn't address it, but are there plans for northbound I-25 access to and from the university? Is there some?
Yes. Albert, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so northbound I-25 is essentially going to remain as it is today. We're not making any modifications to that. So if you're headed on northbound I-25 and want to get to the university, you'll take the off-ramp and come up to a signalized intersection at this location, and then you'll make a left, go across the bridge, and then you'll access university through the Travis signal as it is today. And so there is really no change in the travel pattern for northbound I-25. If you're coming out of the university or from University Avenue and want to go back northbound I-25, then you'll be coming across the bridge, across the interstate, and you'll use the loop ramp to access back onto northbound I-25. Now today you actually have the option of making the loop ramp or taking a left at this intersection. We're actually going to be eliminating this left turn movement at the intersection, and we're going to be directing all of the traffic back onto the interstate using the loop ramp, which is a free flow condition. So no plans for direct access from northbound I-25 into the parking lot. You want to talk a little bit about the I-10, I-25 area?
There are plans for a Arrowhead interchange potentially in the future. That interchange is located at the I-10, I-25 interchange. The DOT and FHWA has done some planning considerations for that future interchange where they've constructed pieces of that future interchange. But that is something that could possibly be constructed down the road. It's in the planning stages, but there's no funding identified for it at this point.
This one's for you also, Wyatt. It's another bike path question from Jeffrey. Why can't the bike path under the Travis Bridge go under the bridge on the right-hand side of the roundabouts going north and avoid crossing the south roundabout altogether?
What we have now is we don't have any pedestrian crossings of the interstate ramps themselves. We only have pedestrian crossings on Travis, and then Travis again, if you will, and then it goes along this side of the roundabout. We do have a sidewalk along here to connect the trail system, and then the bike path is on the east side there to connect to the north.
Okay, thanks. This question is from Bernie, who is the owner of Milagro Coffee. And he's concerned, will there be traffic closures? And if so, will they be scheduled at night? Will it be in the bid? He's concerned about any traffic closures. And I guess either Jerry or Wyatt could talk about that.
For traffic closures, we may have a few traffic closures of I-25 at night or through a weekend, which would be advertised and scheduled for the construction of the new bridge and the demolition of the old bridge. Because we want to keep 2 lanes of traffic open on I-25, we don't want to do a crossover where we reduce traffic into 1 lane. And so there would be scheduled night closures where traffic would be detoured through the interchange or through a different location. And those would all be advertised on the radio, in the newspaper, on our website, and then the contractor would also give those updates in their monthly meetings.
Jerry wants to add something.
Yeah, Bernie, thanks for the question. When the existing bridge on I-25 on University Avenue over I-25 is being demolished, there will be night closures in that vicinity, simply because we don't want debris to fall on the cars going underneath. And so, similarly, once the demolition is done and the roads are swept up, they'll be opened up for traffic in the morning, and then it'll repeat itself every night until that activity is completed. The second occurrence would be when they're setting the beams on the new bridges. We don't want traffic going beneath on I-25 for safety reasons also. So those would have also traditionally occurred at night. As far as closures on University Avenue itself, in the vicinity of your business, we're not anticipating any of those closures. And we would make detours available to the traveling public on how to get through this interchange and to your business by using either Travis or accessing it through Missouri up and then coming back when we do those night closures. So we will lay out a scheme for the traveling public to follow those detours to get back to your business.
Okay, thanks. This question is from Shane on Facebook. Is concerned about taxes. How solvent is the city budget to take on this project? With everything else that's going on, do you plan on raising taxes? And so also, maybe since you're there, the projected cost of the project at this time, which I think we talked about in the overview.
Sure, Shane. So right now, this project is currently scheduled for about $28 million. And right now, it is fully funded through the department and through federal funds. At this point, there is no contribution from NMSU or the city. We have been in discussions with both of those stakeholders. Should landscaping or aesthetic needs, those types of things, exceed our current costs, there may be some participation and some partnering with those entities. But at this point, it's fully funded with federal and state money.
Okay, I think we covered that one. This is a question from Jordan on Facebook for Bert. What is the proposed maintenance of traffic when excavating and constructing the new University Avenue Bridge?
So one of the concepts, or one of the main ideas that we came up with throughout the development of this project, was to offset university alignment to the north to allow for the construction of University, new bridge on University over I-25 and this new Travis underpass bridge while the existing bridge is in use. And so we would maintain traffic on the existing bridge. We offset it far enough to the north where that they can come in and construct a portion of the new bridge, and then we would shift traffic onto the new bridge while they construct the other half of the new bridge. And so that's our plan for that piece.
Okay, thanks, Wyatt. There's a question here about when will construction begin? Maybe Trent knows that one.
This project is currently scheduled to start sometime in early 2019. Just to expand a little bit on that, right now we don't have a timeline for construction. We won't until we get a little further in the design, but it's expected to be under construction for about 18 months.
We have a phone call from Shannon. What maintenance increase will be brought on by this project? Maybe somebody from the city could talk about that?
Yes, my name is Jerry Cordova and I work with the Public Works Department. The maintenance we're anticipating doing as part of the city would be maintaining the signals and also the lighting, and then portions of Travis that are north of the of University Avenue. We don't anticipate a lot of additional maintenance responsibilities for the city because we already do maintain the signals that are there. The new roundabout is a good idea because that's going to take less maintenance for the city and less electrical costs. So I don't see a big impact to the city for the maintenance of the portion that belongs to the city.
Okay, thanks, Jerry.
Okay, let me talk about the maintenance part on the south side.
Oh, okay, sure.
My name's Dale Harrell. I'm the university engineer, and as far as the maintenance on the south side is concerned, NMSU currently does all the maintenance on the south side, and we will maintain that level of force to do that. We anticipate some changes in the lights, more to LED, more efficient lights, but that's minimal maintenance. So NMSU will pick up the trash, maintain the landscape, and maintain the lighting on the south side of the university.
Thank you. They want to know if land will need to be purchased.
All right, I'll jump in and talk a little bit about the right-of-way. So this project has been mentioned several times that there's a combination of the different agencies that have jurisdiction in this area. So University itself, University Avenue, is a city-maintained facility. Travis on the north side is a city-maintained facility. And then, of course, the interstate and the ramps are New Mexico DOT and Federal Highway Administration. And so the question is, where is additional right-of-way going to be needed? For the most part, we are trying to maintain all of the improvements to be within the right-of-way along University and along Travis on the north side. There is a couple of areas where we may need to get temporary construction permits to rebuild some of the driveways. And at that time, we will work with those property owners to identify that piece of property that we need to allow the contractor to have access to while they do that reconstruction. On the south side, as you can see, we're reconfiguring the Travis leg and adding that roundabout. And a lot of that is going into the current NMSU parking lots. We are currently working with them right now to identify where the existing right-of-way is and where that jurisdiction stops between NMSU and the DOT. Once we get that line work figured out and we understand where it's at, then we'll identify what additional right-of-way would be needed and what impacts there are to those parking lots that would have to be mitigated as part of this project. But in terms of private property, there is no acquisition other than the temporary construction permits that are going to be needed.
Okay, this question is from Dale, and I think it's for Trent. Will financial penalty language be embedded in the agreement to ensure customer access to businesses during their hours of operation?
So currently our specifications do not implement any kind of penalty for reduced or lost access. As Jerry mentioned earlier, our goal is to provide access all the time. There may be small closures that are coordinated with the businesses for driveways, and those those types of situations, but at this point, there is no financial penalty for a contractor impacting businesses or closing their driveways.
Okay, thanks. This question is about the Travis Trail and how the Travis Trail will be used during construction. Well, I guess will they have access to the Travis Trail during construction? Or
as I discussed before, there will be some times when the Travis Trail will need to be constructed or improvements need to be made. So we will do a shift and provide signage for users of the trail to the other side of Travis to provide that access.
Okay, thanks. This one's for someone from NMSU. Will this project reduce parking at NMSU, and if so, by how much?
I'm Dale Harrell, the university engineer, and no, there will not be any impact to parking that we see at this time. Once the design gets completely fleshed out, then we can see if there's any impact to parking on that northeast corner of Pan Am. Most of the time, nobody parks there. And so we don't anticipate any parking issues or reduction.
Thanks. This question concerns the Los Alturas neighborhood. Will this project affect access to the Los Alturas neighborhood? Will this, and that maybe is someone from NMDOT, and if it will affect it, how?
So currently on this project, we aren't doing anything at Los Alturas other than some improvements at the intersection. So I don't expect any access issues to occur on Los Alturas itself. There may be some small impacts as we upgrade the signals at that intersection, but no long-term access issues.
Okay. This question is concerning the art that's going to be used, or what kind will be considered. So maybe John could do that. Art is mentioned as a part of the project. What types of art will be considered, and when will it be chosen?
We are just starting the process of developing the committee that will select the artist and make decisions on the art. And part of the reason that we're doing it at this time and going forward is because the design isn't far enough along, or it soon will be far enough along to have the pallets, the retaining walls, and the bridge structure, and those surfaces where the art will go. So I'm not sure exactly what the time frame of the art selection process will be, but I would speculate that over the next 6 months, we'll set up the committee and select artists and go forward with the art project. And it will include, as I said, surfaces where concrete stamps and form of concrete, as well as color and other features, and landscaping is likely to be included as well.
Yes, sir.
I've got a little follow-up question on the art. With bond issues, I remember hearing there's like 2% set aside for arts. What's the budget that you're setting aside for the art portion of this project?
The art is generally about 1% on this project as it will be managed through the committee that's being developed as a part of this project. And to follow up a little bit what John had mentioned, the committee will be putting out the requirements for the artist. And so there will be certain limitations that the artist will have in terms of what they develop. For instance, if you're driving on I-25, the Federal Highway Administration and the DOT is very concerned about rubberneckers, people staring at the art and taking their eyes off the road where it belongs. And so the art would be subtle, paint, it'd be very elegant, but not art like you have under the underpass. Now the Travis Bridge, it's an underpass and it's not on the interstate, so that has a lot more opportunity for artistic flair. And so all of this criteria will be given to the artist to develop, and typically it'll be integrated with other aesthetics as a part of the project. But the strict answer to your question is it's generally about 1% on these NMDOT projects.
Okay, this question is, why is the entrance closing going north, taking a left from University? It seems like many folks take that option instead of taking the loop. I assume that option will be open from folks going west on University.
The question is why is this movement being eliminated? And when we looked at this operationally, this right turn is a free flow movement. And in order to do a left turn here, we actually have to add another phase, a green arrow to this signal at this intersection, which causes a queuing issue with the intersection. So we have this intersection here with the southbound off-ramp, which is very close to the intersection with Las Alturas and Don Roser. And so in order for this entire corridor of University Avenue to function at the highest capacity, it was better to have this free-flowing movement and to reduce the signal time at this current intersection.
There's a question here concerning more meetings for public input. How many opportunities for public input will there be as this project goes along? Will there be more meetings like this?
Yes, there will be more meetings like this. We will always take your comments. We have the website up that you guys can constantly email us. We'll be checking our Twitter and Facebook accounts so that you guys can continue to give us your feedback and ask questions throughout the project. We will have at minimum one more public meeting for this project. We may have more if necessary, and we do plan to have all of these meetings where they are streamed online where you guys can access them. We're also going to post the recording of this meeting, including the question and answer session, on our website so that you guys can come back and access that at any time.
Will the timing of the NMSU school year be taken into account for the phasing of this project? For example, will more work be done in the summer when more students are gone from campus?
Because of the duration of this project, it will be hard to phase it such that the entire construction could be done in 2 or 3 months where NMSU is out of session. What our plan does have is that because I-25 will have 2 lanes of traffic in both directions at all times, and University will have 2 lanes of traffic at all times, we don't anticipate that we'll have to do if we do any speed reductions, they will be very minimal. And then access to the campus will be maintained. We may have to shift people around a little bit and put in some temporary ramps and temporary signals, but we will maintain access throughout. But just due to the duration, we won't be able to complete the project during a summer.
So I think that concludes the question and answer session. You can still email your questions and comments to contact@i25-university.com. And our goal is to keep you informed. So please visit our website, i25-university.com. And we would like to thank our viewers, our meeting participants, our experts, and everyone who's been involved in this process this evening. Your input is valuable contribution to this project. So have a great evening. Remember, your streets are your business.